The galaxy was saved by humans, but the Federation did not reward them. For 5 years, humanity fought the Void Eaters on the front lines while the advanced alien races stayed behind their shields. Human soldiers died in millions, using old kinetic weapons, railguns, chemical explosives, and brutal battlefield creativity to destroy the swarm. When the final Void Eater hive ship was destroyed, Admiral Marcus Thorne expected a celebration. Instead, High Counselor Varkus appeared on the screen and declared humanity too dangerous to remain free. The Federation surrounded the weakened human fleet, disabled their ships with ion pulses, and used repair nanites to sabotage human systems from inside. Varkus ordered all human colonies dismantled and all humans returned to one controlled system. He believed humanity had no fuel, no communications, no modern weapons, and no future. But Admiral Thorne stayed calm. He opened an old locker, lit an Earth cigar, and told his crew the Federation had made one mistake. They had taken human technology. They had not taken human instinct. Thorne ordered the crew to activate old manual controls, copper wiring, shortwave radios, mechanical backups, and primitive systems the aliens did not even understand. Then he gave the first order of the Great Reclamation. They took our future. Now we take their empire. For the Federation, the war was over. For humanity, it had just begun. To alien scanners, the remaining human fleet looked like debris, dead ships drifting silently in space. No engine signatures, no energy spikes, no communication signals, just cold metal floating in the void. That illusion was exactly what Admiral Thorne wanted. Inside the UEF Retribution, nothing was dead. It was alive, just primitive. The glowing blue alien power systems were gone, replaced by thick copper wiring stretched across corridors like veins. Emergency diesel generators roared deep in the ship's core, their heat masked behind layers of insulation. Mechanical switches replaced digital interfaces. Hydraulic levers replaced automated controls. Everything smelled like oil, metal, and survival. Chief Engineer Sarah Vale stood knee-deep in open panels, hands covered in grease. "Shortwave transmitter is operational," she said. "Range is limited, but it's invisible to their scanners." Thorne nodded. "Good. Start broadcasting on predigital frequencies. 20th century bands." I frowned. "Sir, that tech is ancient. No one uses it anymore." "Exactly," Thorne replied. "Which means no one is listening." Within hours, signals began to return. Weak, crackling, broken, but human. Mining colonies, cargo ships, old war vessels, scattered survivors who had also gone dark. The Federation had shut down modern networks, but they had forgotten that humanity had centuries of obsolete communication methods. And humans never throw anything away. Across the sector, hidden voices whispered through static. "We're still here. We're alive. Awaiting orders." For 3 days, the fleet stayed silent to the outside world. To the Federation, humanity was finished. To itself, humanity was reorganizing. Thorne gathered the remaining commanders in the dim-lit bridge. No holograms, no AI projections, just a metal table, paper maps, and human voices. "They think we're crawling back to Earth," Thorne said. "They think we're broken." He tapped the map. "They took our fuel." Another tap. "They took our banks." Another. "They took our ships." He looked up, eyes burning. "So we take them back." A quiet tension filled the room. Not fear. Hunger. "What's the first target?" I asked. Thorne smiled slightly. "The Zul Energy Depot on Zios." The room went still. "That place is untouchable," one commander said. "Class 5 AI defense. Automated shields. Full surveillance. We don't need to break their system," Thorne replied. He leaned forward. "We just need to confuse it." Sarah crossed her arms, already understanding. "No signals," she said. "No engines. No heat." Thorne nodded. "We don't fly in." A pause. "We fall." The plan was simple, which made it terrifying. The Retribution would shut down completely. No power. No emissions. Nothing detectable. Then it would use the gravity of a nearby gas giant to sling itself toward Zios like a silent projectile. A 50,000-ton ghost. No engines. No warnings. No trace. Just mass, motion, and intent. For the next 2 days, the crew prepared in silence. Weapons were not plasma. They were steel. Harpoons. Cables. Magnetic clamps. Thermite charges. Tools that looked more like construction equipment than war gear. Because that was the truth of it. This was not a battle. It was a heist. On the 3rd day, Thorn stood at the command deck. "All systems off," he ordered. The last light flickered out. The ship went dark. And humanity disappeared from the galaxy. For the Federation, it looked like the final confirmation. Humans were gone. For humanity, it was the beginning of something far more dangerous. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were hunters in the dark. The Zul Energy Depot on the moon of Zios was not just a facility. It was a symbol, a towering structure of glass and light, floating above a gray, lifeless surface, storing enough star fuel to power entire sectors. It was protected by a Class 5 AI defense grid, designed to stop fleets, hackers, and anything that emitted even a whisper of energy. It had never been attacked, because it was considered impossible. That was exactly why Admiral Thorn chose it. The retribution didn't arrive. It fell. Pulled by the gravity of a massive gas giant, the ship drifted silently toward Zios. No engines. No heat. No signals. Just cold metal cutting through space like a forgotten relic. Inside, the crew worked in near darkness. No digital systems. Only red emergency lights and whispered commands. "Approach in 30 seconds," Sarah said quietly. Thorn stood still, eyes locked forward. "Prepare harpoons." I checked my gear. Not a plasma rifle. Not an energy blade. A heavy steel launcher, loaded with magnetic tip spikes attached to thick cables. Felt primitive. Felt perfect. The depot grew larger in the viewport. Beautiful. Untouchable. Unprepared. "Now," Thorn said. The ship didn't fire lasers. It fired steel. Clang. 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 Massive harpoons slammed into the glass structure, punching through its outer layers with brutal force. The cables tightened, anchoring the retribution directly to the station. For a moment, nothing happened. Inside the depot, the AI hesitated. It was designed to detect energy signatures, hacking attempts, plasma fire, digital intrusions. It had no protocol for a giant metal spike. It tried to respond, but it didn't understand the problem. And that delay was all humanity needed. "Breach team, move." I led the squad across the cables. We didn't glide with jetpacks. We climbed, like pirates. Heavy suits, magnetic boots, manual grips. When we hit the glass, we didn't blast it. We melted it. Thermite charges ignited, simple chemistry, no energy signature. The glass gave way like butter. We dropped inside. Chaos. The Zul guards were already panicking. Tall, blue-skinned figures floating in controlled gravity zones, reaching for their advanced pulse weapons. But Sarah had already played her move. Gravity sensors overloaded. Her voice crackled in my wired headset. Suddenly, the entire room shifted. The Zul, used to perfect artificial gravity, began to drift uncontrollably. Sideways, spinning, disoriented. Humans? We had trained in zero gravity for years. This was home. "Secure the tanks," I shouted. Gunfire echoed. Not plasma. Not lasers. Real bullets. The sound alone shocked the Zul. They had never heard weapons like that before. It was loud, violent, unpredictable. Within minutes, resistance collapsed. "Admiral," I said into the line, "the depot is ours." Thorn's reply was calm. "Then don't leave anything behind." And we didn't. We didn't just steal fuel. We stole the building. Massive mechanical thrusters were attached to the entire storage wing. Cutting torches split the structure in half. Steel cables locked it to the retribution. "Structure detached," Sarah confirmed. "Pull it," Thorn ordered. The old engines roared to life, not clean alien plasma, but raw mechanical force. With a groan that echoed through space itself, the retribution began dragging half the depot into the void. By the time Federation ships arrived, We were gone. All they found was a broken structure and a message burned into the remaining glass wall. Thanks for the fuel. Back at the hidden rally point, the human fleet gathered. For the first time since the betrayal, they cheered. We had fuel. We had power. But more importantly, we had proven something. The Federation thought they had disarmed us. But they had only removed the tools we didn't need. Because a human with advanced weapons is dangerous. But a human with nothing is unstoppable. After the Zio's fuel heist, the Federation was no longer calm. They were confused, angry, embarrassed, but still arrogant. High Counselor Varkas addressed the council. Humans are acting like scavengers. They are desperate. This is not a war. It is a nuisance. That was his second mistake. Because humanity was not stealing to survive anymore. We were stealing to take control. The next target wasn't fuel. It was power. Real power. Ethelgard. Planet-sized city. The financial heart of the entire Federation. Every transaction, every credit, every trade agreement, every ownership record, stored there. If Zios was energy, Ethelgard was control. In the war room, Thorn stood over a physical map. No holograms. No AI. Just paper and ink. They guard this place like it's sacred, I said. It is, Thorn replied. That's why they won't expect us. They have life scanners, thermal grids, quantum firewalls. And all of that depends on one thing, Thorn interrupted. Technology. He looked at us. So we go without it. The plan was insane, which meant it would work. We found a comet. A massive one. Ice, rock, debris, drifting naturally toward Ethelgard's star system. We hollowed it out. Inside, we placed 50 of our best operatives. No electronics. No heat signatures. No signals. Just human bodies, oxygen tanks, and cold determination. For 12 hours, we sat in silence as the comet drifted past Federation defenses. Their scanners saw it, analyzed it, classified it, natural object, and ignored it. When the comet entered the upper atmosphere, we broke out. Chunks of ice shattered as we launched ourselves into the sky. No jetpacks, no thrusters, just wingsuits, fabric and physics. We looked like shadows falling from the stars. We landed on the central bank. No alarms, no detection, no resistance, until it was too late. Breach, I whispered. Thermal charges activated. The roof didn't explode. It melted. Clean. Silent. Perfect. We dropped inside. The vault was overwhelming. Rows of glowing blue luminina crystals. Enough wealth to buy entire star systems. My team started loading them into vacuum bags. But I moved past them. Because that wasn't the real target. At the center of the chamber stood the core. The brain of the Federation economy. I pulled out a device. Not a hacking tool. A magnetic induction coil. Sarah's voice came through the wired line. Ready when you are. We don't download, I said. We copy. The device activated. A powerful magnetic field surged through the system. Instead of stealing data digitally, we imprinted it physically. Every transaction, every ownership record, every legal claim, stamped onto a dense lead plate. A perfect copy of the Federation's entire financial reality. Then the alarms started. Too late. Zulguards stormed in, weapons glowing. Drop everything, their leader shouted. I smiled. We're not here for the crystals. I pressed the trigger on my belt. The ground shook. Above us, the real plan began. Human mining ships, ignored by the Federation as useless scrap, had attached massive industrial magnets to the building's foundation. With a deafening roar, the entire vault floor collapsed. 10 levels of solid structure ripped free and dropped into the tunnels below. The guards fell with it, screaming, confused, helpless. In the darkness, we were ready, night vision on, magnetic boots locked, silenced weapons raised. One by one, the guards disappeared. Minutes later, the vault was gone. We didn't run. We transported. An ancient underground maglev system, abandoned centuries ago. carried the entire vault section out of the city. By the time the Federation realized what happened, we were already gone. The next morning, the galaxy woke up to a broadcast. Admiral Thorne appeared on every screen, calm, relaxed, holding a glass of wine and a stack of documents. "Attention, Federation citizens," he said. "According to your own laws, Section 4, Article 9, the owner of the original physical deeds owns the property." He smiled slightly. "And right now," he lifted the papers, "I own quite a lot of your galaxy." Silence. Shock. Panic. "You have 24 hours, Thorne continued, "to negotiate rent, a sip of wine, or we begin asset recovery." For the first time, the Federation felt something new. Not fear. Not anger. Loss of control. Because humanity hadn't just stolen their money. We had stolen their system. After the bank job, the Federation stopped laughing. But they still didn't understand. They thought humanity was winning through luck, desperation, chaos. So High Counselor Varkas decided to end it properly. He sent a message across the remaining fleets. Deploy the dreadnoughts. 20 Zul warships entered human-controlled space. Massive, perfect, untouchable. Each one was capable of destroying a planet's surface in minutes. Their shields were impenetrable. Their weapons were unmatched. Their crews were trained for centuries. This wasn't a response. This was an execution. They arrived at the last known human rally point and found nothing. Empty space. No ships. No signals. No debris. Just silence. "Scan for thermal signatures," the Zul Admiral ordered. "Nothing detected," the technician replied. Then, a pause. "Sir, I'm detecting small anomalies." "What kind?" "They look like frozen particles. Thousands of them." The Admiral waved it off. "Space debris. Ignore it." That was his final mistake. Because inside those ice fragments were humans. We had hidden ourselves inside frozen shells of CO2 and water, matching the exact temperature of deep space. No heat, no energy, no signals. Invisible, waiting. As the dreadnoughts drifted deeper into the field, we moved. Small bursts of compressed air pushed our pods forward. No flames, no heat, just motion. Thump. My pod hit the hull of the Zul flagship. Cold metal beneath my gloves. "Contact," I whispered. Around me, dozens of other pods locked into place across the massive ship. "Begin entry." We didn't use drills. Too loud. Too obvious. Instead, we used chemistry. Liquid gallium. We poured it across the alien alloy hull. First, nothing happened. Then, the metal weakened, cracked, collapsed like dry clay. We punched through. Inside, chaos. The Zul ships were built for space combat. Long-range engagements. Energy shields. Precision targeting. They were not built for war inside their own corridors. We moved fast. Flashbangs. Smoke. Darkness. The Zul relied on visual enhancements and stable environments. We took both away. "I can't see. My sensors are down. What is happening?" To them, it was disorientation. To us, it was normal. We moved through the ship like shadows. Close quarters. Simple weapons. Stun batons. Zip ties. Minimal killing. Because dead enemies don't fly ships. Deck by deck, we took control. On the bridge, the Zul Admiral was shouting commands. "Lock the engines. Activate self-destruct. Seal the corridors." Too late. The lights flickered. The control panels went dark. Then, they came back. Different. Human orange. Admiral Thorne's voice echoed through the ship's intercom. "Nice vessel you have here." The Zul Admiral froze. "What have you done?" Thorne wasn't even on the ship. He was on an asteroid, in a room full of old equipment. And Sarah, she hadn't hacked the system. She had bypassed it. The repair droids we stole earlier? They were now inside the ship's core, physically rerouting circuits, disconnecting alien control, installing human overrides, wire by wire, old-school engineering. "Admiral," I said into my radio. The bridge is secured. Cross space. The same thing was happening. One by one, Federation dreadnoughts changed color. Blue to orange. Alien to human. The Zul crews were forced into escape pods. Launched back into space. Alive. Helpless. Watching their invincible fleet turn around and leave them behind. An hour later, High Counselor Varkas received a message. Admiral Thorne sat in the captain's chair of the stolen flagship. Relaxed, calm, untouchable. Varkas, he said, you said you'd pay in fire. He turned the camera. Behind him, 19 dreadnoughts aligned in formation. Well, Thorne continued, these ships have excellent firepower. A small smile. Thanks for the donation. Varkas didn't respond. He couldn't, because in that moment, the war changed. The Federation still had worlds, still had people, still had pride. But humanity now had something far more important. Control of the sky. By now, the Federation understood one thing. Humans didn't fight like anyone else. They didn't meet force with force. They changed the rules. After losing their fuel, their banks, and now their fleet, the Federation made a desperate calculation. If they have ships, Varkas said to his generals, they will need food. He was right. War runs on fuel. But people run on food. The entire Federation depended on one system, Ceres 2 Garden Planet. A world covered in massive food synthesizer fields. No farms, no soil, no insects. Just clean, perfect machines that converted raw energy into food. Efficient, controlled, sterile. Take Ceres 2, one general said, and the humans will starve. Admiral Thorne heard that plan and smiled. We don't take the planet, he said. We take their appetite. Instead of sending dreadnoughts, we sent garbage. Old Earth garbage barges. Ugly, slow, ignored. During the Void Eater War, these ships carried waste from battle zones. The Federation never cared about them. To advanced species, trash was invisible. That made them perfect. Inside those barges was not garbage. It was life. Soil from Earth. Seeds, bacteria, insects, and something much worse. Release the ecopods, I ordered from the surface. The sky opened. Thousands of small pods fell into the synthesizer fields. They didn't explode. They bloomed. Vines spread. Fast. Aggressive. Unstoppable. Kudzu. An earth plant known for one thing. It never stops growing. At the same time, millions of modified locusts spread through the machines, crawling into vents, into circuits, into cooling systems. Within hours, the perfect alien machines began to fail. System malfunction. Contamination detected. Production halted. The Federation had no idea what was happening. They had eliminated biology from their system centuries ago. They had no pests, no weeds, no chaos. Humans brought it back. From my position in the forest, I reported, the green phase is active. Sarah's voice came through. Good. Now we fix it. Cross the planet. A message broadcasted. Biohazard detected. Evacuate immediately. Cleaning drones inbound. The Zul scientists panicked. They didn't question it. They ran. Moments later, the cleaning drones arrived. They weren't drones. They were humans, wearing white suits, walking through the front gate. No resistance. No suspicion. We entered the largest food production system in the galaxy. Like we owned it. Inside, Sarah examined the core. They encrypted the recipes, she said. But the output system is open. Thorne's voice came through calmly. Do it. We didn't destroy the system. We changed it. 24 hours later, the Federation military arrived. Hungry, angry, ready to fight. They activated the machines. The food came out. Perfect. Fresh. Normal. Until they tasted it. Varkas himself took the first bite, then immediately spit it out. What is this? Every machine on the planet, no matter what setting, produced only one thing, human marmite mixed with ghost pepper. It was edible, technically, But to alien taste receptors, it was torture, fire, salt, pain. Across the galaxy, Federation citizens began to starve. Not because there was no food, but because they couldn't eat it. Then the message came. Admiral Thorn appeared on every screen. Eating an apple. Calm. Satisfied. Heard the new menu is a bit spicy, he said. A small smile. We kept the good recipes. Silence. If you want your food back, Thorn continued, we want navigation access to the Great Nebula. He took another bite. Or, enjoy the spice. For the first time, the Federation understood something terrifying. Humans didn't just want to win. They wanted to make you regret losing. By now, the Federation had a fleet problem, a food problem, and a pride problem. So High Counselor Varkas turned to the one thing he still believed was secure. Communication. The other races will help us, he said. The Krill, the Zyos, the Ardent. They won't let humanity take control of the galaxy. The Federation activated their most advanced system, the Subspace Light Network. Instant communication across the galaxy. Perfect synchronization. Impossible to intercept. At least, that's what they believed. In a hidden asteroid base, Sarah stared at a map. 3 glowing points. Sync stations, she said. Without these, the whole network collapses. Then we destroy them, one officer said. Thorn shook his head. No. He smiled slightly. We used them. Operation Echo. We didn't send warships. We sent tugboats. Small, matte black ships used for moving debris. Invisible. Ignored. I led the team to Sync Station Alpha. A massive golden ring floating in empty space. No guards. Just automated defense turrets. Turrets active, my pilot whispered. Don't fire, I said. Deploy chaff. Thousands of tiny aluminum strips exploded into space. The Federation lasers fired and hit everything. Reflections, distortions, chaos. Their own weapons blinded them. We landed. Sarah connected a device. Not a jammer. Not a virus. A filter. We're not stopping their messages, she said. We're improving them. Thorn leaned back. Let them talk. And let us rewrite. The first lie. Varkas sent a message. Unite against humanity. Bring your fleets. The Krill Emperor received. We have allied with the humans. Your empire is next. At the same time, we sent a reply to Varkas. The Krill have betrayed you. Within minutes, confusion. Within an hour, anger. Within 12 hours, chaos. The galaxy turns on itself. Old allies began aiming weapons at each other. Ships moved without orders. Fleets repositioned. Defenses activated. No one is answering clearly. They're threatening us. Who attacked first? They screamed into their systems. But every message was ours. I watched it unfold on the scanners. They're fighting each other, I said. Thorn nodded. Silence is dangerous, he said. When people can't trust what they hear, they trust their fear. And fear spreads faster than war. The final move. But we weren't done. Because the sync stations didn't just carry messages. They carried identity. Every system in the Federation, banks, ships, factories, doors, weapons, all required High Council authorization. And now, we had it. Sarah's voice was quiet. Identity keys secured. Varkas tried to access his terminal. Error. Identity not recognized. Another message appeared. This system now belongs to the Human Reclamation Authority. His password had been changed. His access removed. His authority erased. Across the galaxy, the same thing happened. Leaders locked out. Systems frozen. Commands ignored. The Federation didn't just lose communication. They lost themselves. Thorn watched silently. They built a perfect system, he said. A pause. And we turned it into a joke. Because humanity hadn't just broken their network. We had broken their trust. And without trust, an empire doesn't fall slowly. Collapses instantly. By this point, the Federation had lost almost everything. their fuel, their money, their fleet, their food, their communication. But they still had one thing left: their identity. On the planet Primus, deep inside a heavily guarded complex, stood the most sacred place in the galaxy. The Vault of Ages. It didn't store wealth. It stored meaning. Inside were the original crowns of ancient rulers, the first warp engine blueprints, cultural artifacts thousands of years old, and most importantly, soul cores, digital memories of their greatest leaders. If we lose this, Varkas said quietly, we lose who we are. For the first time, he was afraid. The human plan. We don't attack it, Thorn said. We walk in. No ships. No explosions. No hacking. We sent cleaners. Because after the chaos we caused, the Federation had cut costs. Security drones were expensive. So they hired workers. Cheap workers. Ignored workers. Perfect cover. A group of Zio's janitors arrived at the vault. Masks on. Tools in hand. No questions asked. Under those masks were us. Thorn, Sarah, me. We entered the most secure place in the galaxy. Like we belonged there. The operation. For 3 hours. We cleaned. Wiped floors. Moved equipment. Acted invisible. Meanwhile, Sarah scanned everything. Perfect 3D copies of every artifact. Every detail. Every scratch. But we weren't just copying. We were replacing. The swap. The golden scepter of the Zul Empire. Gone. Replaced with a plastic broom handle. Spray-painted gold. The original warp engine blueprint. Gone. Replaced with a child's crayon drawing. The sacred soul cores. Gone. Replaced with simple drives containing a looping earth song. Because humans don't just win. We make it memorable. The exit. We walked out. Through the front door. Carrying the history of the galaxy. In trash bags. No alarms. No suspicion. Because nobody notices the cleaners. The reveal. Once we were safe, Thorn gave the order. Broadcast it. Across the Federation. Every screen flickered. Thorn appeared. Standing in a cargo bay. Surrounded by their most sacred treasures. You said humans had no history, he said calmly. You said we had nothing worth remembering. He held up the real golden scepter. Turns out, your history is easy to carry. He dropped it into a crate labeled, Property of Earth. If you want it back, he added, you'll have to ask nicely. The collapse. On Primus, the priests ran to the vault. They found a broom instead of a scepter, a child's drawing instead of history, and when they activated their ancestors, they got music. Not wisdom, not guidance, just noise. For the first time, the Federation didn't just lose power. They lost belief. If their leaders couldn't protect their past, how could they protect anything? Riots began. Protests spread. Faith collapsed. Because empires don't run on technology. They run on identity. And humanity had just stolen it. Thorn watched the chaos unfold. You know the best part? He said. What? I asked. He smiled. We're going to build a museum on Earth. A pause. And charge them to see their own history. That was the moment the war truly ended. Because after that, the Federation didn't see humans as enemies anymore. They saw us as something far worse. The ones who owned their past and controlled their future.